Any woman who comes on to me physically will be arrested for murder as a war criminal and two virgins genocide. I promise that that is the highest likeliest outcome. I saw a newsreel of Weasler in one of his more purple flower moments. He was gone something about the flag that we tore from nothing. Doesn't make any sense. But maybe it does in a way when you look at a sandbagger like Roger Waters. He's like in the Hamas ditch sandbagging. The kind of guy who says maybe all this loss of civilian life will play to the basic meaning. It'll be good for our agenda. So he says in the end we'll cough up 25,000 and wave the flag of Palestine, and all shall be healed. And they knew this because they've done it before. Lenin was the flag that they waved for the AIDS victims. And they got all of the people to bark that the devil had been brilliant and had given meaning to those he betrayed. And the hospital was going to collect from the pornographic genocide by taxing those who had sex. You see, so it's sin tax for the sin war of Sinfield. You're not supposed to say boo, because boo means you don't like Mick Jagger. And Chicken Lee Obama, that worm who was installation for this, that credit to his race. The drone warrior for whom King Martin Luther King paved the way to the shining city on the hill, was too Chicken Lee to even do any homework about what was going on. He just took this Fu Manchu thing and said, I'm with Africa, we're going to inject the white, we're going to slay. And Jeffin said, good man, not good boy. Netanyahu said, whoopee doopie. What is there to crack your books about? Well, for one thing, it was all a game of chicken put down by Ronald Reagan. That's right, it was a game of chicken. He put out the semiotics of the assassination of JFK in his film, The Killers, and said, I dare you to say anything about that. And RFK does like this here and that there. You know, Junior, he thinks he's on the journey to excellence. Oh, Secret Service will invest in protecting the golem as we stab him in meaningful ways. The golem Jimmy C. RFK doesn't dare, doesn't repeat, dare. He's not like Obama, who's a chickenly worm, who doesn't open the books about it. Obama isn't one who doesn't dare ask, what was I doing there with Nahan News links to Reagan when he claims he was shot. Another chicken, because he came out and waved to me the night before. You could see in CBS News, they were there. His attorneys gave me a brochure from Pentagon Disney that said there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes. So it's make pretend, right? Hollywood magic. They shoot a couple people for real, but they fake it on the master of Hollywood. So he gets his alibi. for the chicken he played on JFK with the semiotics. He then gets an alibi. They were framing him, but they also shot him. So it's all covered. And so he gets to point the finger at Jimmy C. Jimmy C. And he dares you. See, Obama doesn't know that because he's just a chickenly worm. He would never crack the books. But RFK, he has a spinner beanie. See that up there? When you pull it, he gets the idea and it starts to spin. He would not dare to say a word. It's a game of chicken. So then, who do these people who have me in D.C. for Reagan and make believe from Pentagon Disney, where do they have me next? Is on Mount Desert Island, playing in a game of chicken for the sin tax. I was saying we should be trying to get water for the poor. We should be trying to help people solve the hunger problems. They're like, nah, yet, because you insulted the black man and the Jew has your dossier. So we're not going to help nobody until we clear the air and finish the job in Gaza for the settler colonists of the Black Panther Party in Seattle. Okay, so then we made genocide peep of Jimmy C next. And they're going to use skin creatures on him, like scabies, and poison the lip with COVID, and give him Parkinson's, and threaten to inject him over a penny. And they ripper murder the settler colonialists of Seattle, ripper murder a bystander, ripper murder over a penny, because the C of copyright is in the Star of David of the Neva Corporation. And Yoko Ono has everybody wired into Monty Python's playback system at Carnegie Mellon University, where they have these actors who worked over Jimmy C in the lead up. And they're saying, we dare you, while they're ripping off books from the museum for millions of dollars and playing Abdul the terrorist when they're Jews from Netanyahu's army. It's to scare people, to scare seniors on KDKA radio by their dark, husky voices. And they dare you to say anything. Now, if Obama was the sort of person who didn't have to forge his birth certificate and his law degree from Harvard, the kind of person who could actually crack a book, which he's too chickenly to do, actually study the material, which he is far too chickenly to do, he would see that the arguments come from not me. I was being dragged around and beaten as a deaf person. And he would note that I am a deaf person. That's not possible for him. The settler colonialists of Seattle have identified me as a white. So deafness isn't important. When you have a president who's asleep at the wheel, it's particularly not important, especially when he's the black man playing pussy ball games for Japanese chicks with Trump money, which is what they were doing. And it was all set in motion from the 1970s and all scripted. How did it come to pass that Gail Burstyn appeared on Robert Fripp's record in 1979 and all of her script is in their record lyrics if she wasn't part of the show? And yet, Netanyahu, Jeffin, Biden, Obama, Fripp, Gabriel, McCartney, Yoko Ono, and Reagan said she's too beautiful to arrest. What we'll do is we'll shoot the snake instead of the Black Beauty. So they shot the snake upon the ground. And Obama liked that because his licky chops get glistened. Right? That's what the truth is. You can't do your homework. You want to say this came from my imagination, this mad deaf kid selling Satanism as the walrus who had abortion. Because why? Because you paid for and sponsored them and held me slavery is why that happened. You paid for them and sponsored them. You contracted attack prostitutes. And you even wrote about it. The persona is subjected to successive degradations of the X motive. You wrote this. Clinton and Gregory Carl wrote this. So, how did it come from my imagination? You can see the framework is all worked out. The dialectic is established at the outset, says Gregory Carl. Paranoia and poison, says Penis Sinfield. They designed it. Hitler Reagan said, all in all, I'd rather be in Philadelphia. That's where I was, returning from D.C., where his attorneys had me for the show. But it was also the name of a place in Mississippi where Cheney and Schwerner and another kid were murdered and buried in a swamp. I'm sure that when Reagan said, honey, I forgot to duck, he was just rehashing an old joke that he was said once upon a time about JFK. He forgot to duck. Because when you put the whole thing together, it's hocus pocus from a Houdini black box. And you think these worms, like RFK Jr. and Obama and Biden, are going to tell the truth. When they got Hamas to obliterate a supernova rave with the threat of a nuclear bomb, that's why they said supernova, to annihilate the libertinage of dancing kids. And then, as a metaphor for the success with Third World War, the Japanese woman in third place in Beijing. The Ouspensky fourth dimension people from behind the revolving bookshelf and the curtain. Ones who snuck into the Oz wizard room. And then they obliterated Gaza. And the settler colonialists in Seattle were delaying over this fantasy about the penny and the sea of the Star of David until they could finish the job against Gaza. They have it graphically symbolized here in Tacoma. Supernova rave. It's the name of a joint here by the cosmonaut. You see, because Leapfrog was jumping to Putinese were Kahooter. And they have the spin. You can't tell what's real from what's fantasy. Who can't? This didn't come from me. Anybody who knows me when I was growing up knows I didn't. My imagination was not stylized for this stuff. So go ahead and believe your worm. But worm.